You're listening to the Storm Report, your weekly insight into the Manchester Storm, brought to you by Storm TV's Maddie Finnegan.
How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the Storm Report. This is episode 7 of your exclusive and official podcast for the Manchester Storm. As always, I'm your host, Matty Finnegan, and today it's only a two-man show because I am joined by Aidan Millen today, and we are going to be going over loads of different bits of news from the games that have just happened, the games that we have this weekend, and we have a little chat with Tyler Hinam coming up later as well. First things first, though, Aidan, how you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. It's a chilly evening here in Nottingham, but looking forward to talking some hockey.
Yeah, no, we need to talk about some things, that's for sure. We've got the 8-3 loss to the Sheffield Steelers at home, and then we have the 4-1 loss at the Panthers. Both games we were both at, so it'll be cool to kind of talk about our experiences there. But let's start with the Sheffield game, because I think that's going to be the big talking point of the weekend. That was the one that fans will have really wanted to win out of the two, if that was at all the case. And I know that you have a lot to say here, so I will let you take this. But I think what I would say is I think we started well, and then we just kind of let things get carried away. I think we took one too many penalties, and Sheffield aren't a team that you need to give invitations to score on the man advantage. But a 3-8 loss to the Sheffield Steelers, Aidan Millen.
Yeah, it was a strange evening. It was great to have a big crowd in. When we have Sheffield in, they always bring quite a few fans. We had pretty much a sellout in ourselves, good atmosphere from our lot. And then when I went out pre-game, usually the Sheffield fans usually give it the big one. They're usually very loud and give it some, and they were very muted. I went out there and hello Sheffield Steelers, hey. And I had to do it twice. I was like, "Come on, Sheffield, you do better than that. You're a cheer Sheffield." And the team came out as flat as the fans were. I mean, there must have been some sort of hangover from the CHL exploits during the week, but Storm just got on top of them from the opening face-off. I mean, I actually had a slight different perspective on the game on Saturday because of, as most of you there will have remembered, it was quite a warm evening compared to the temperatures the week prior. And what that meant was all the plexiglass was fogged up. So the only way I could actually see the game was by putting my life in my hands and standing on the bench that's just in front of me and poking my head over. Give me a nice little angle on things. So that was good. Give me a nice appreciation of the shape of the teams, etc. But yeah, we were right on top of them for that first 10 minutes. Yuli got the goal, really, really great start. Sheffield barely got out the starting gate. And then I think we had a penalty kill, successful penalty kill, but then quickly had another penalty, which Sheffield scored on the power play. And from that moment forward, the momentum just wholly shifted. And then Sheffield got 2 quick goals within a couple of minutes of each other. We went in at the end of the first 2-1 down, and we just never recovered. It just kind of snowballed from there, really. And then, halfway through that second period, we were 4-1 down, and it just, we kept getting the odd goal back, but we never got a grip of the game from there. And then by the end, like those last 10 minutes or so were painful for all involved from a Storm point of view. And then Sheffield run out the comfortable winners.
Yeah, I think Storm managed to get one goal in every single period, but Sheffield managed to get 2 or 3 in every single period, and goals win games. So that was where we missed out on. You stand right next to the paramedic, so I'm surprised they let you stand up and look over the glass. There might need to be questions asked there. But
I mean, it certainly makes me keep my eye on the puck at all times, I'll tell you that much.
leading by example, I like it.
Yeah. Plus, medical help is there should it be required.
So should you get in trouble?
I wouldn't generally do that, but it was literally the other way I could see the game. The fog on the plexi was that bad where I stood. I really couldn't get a grip otherwise. I need to come talk to you lovely people on a Tuesday or Wednesday night about the game of the past week, so I do need to be able to see it. So,
well, there is that. That.
I mean, one thing I did also notice from that vantage point of mine was, I said this, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, about our style of play. We do play a very kind of high risk, high reward style where we got like the D playing a lot of stretch passes out. And I think there was struggles with the ice on Saturday night. You could see that the puck was sticking a bit more than it would generally. And a few of those occasions were where, we were giving up the puck, Sheffield were taking it, they were getting the odd man rushes and a couple of goals coming from it. And I was saying, like, that's a feature of how we want to play this season. I know In the past seasons, we've played more of a safer dump and chase kind of style, which isn't necessarily prettier. Well, it's certainly not prettier, and it keeps those games tighter. But as I said, high risk, high reward. You get when it clicks, it really clicks. It looks great. You get lots of goals. But then the flip side is, you do take the higher element of risk. Those passes get picked out, and you suddenly concede in a couple of goals off the back of it.
It makes for entertaining hockey, and you have reminded me of a good point there that the ice was almost playing a factor. There was one point on the broadcast where I remember saying that the ice itself deserved a couple of assists on some of the goals because it really was. The one that stands out to me was the tough moment. It was pretty harsh on Di Filippo. He makes the pad save, but normally when you kick your pad out like that, you're able to kind of kick the puck to the far corner and get it out of danger. But in doing so, he propels himself across the ice because it was almost wetter, so it was extra slippy. And then the puck just, for the same reason, just didn't move. It almost got stuck right on the goal line. And I think it was Craig Martin got one of the easiest goals he'll ever score because it was just there on the doorstep for him. And yeah, it really was one of those crazy games that you kind of get with those warmer environments outside of the game. And I don't envy the people that bought tickets to stand by the glass. Apologies if you didn't get the greatest view of at least the first period, but yeah, I thought it was a game that we could have potentially taken advantage of as well. Everyone was talking about Greenfield as an absence, and he wasn't the only one the Steelers were missing. They were coming in a little bit weak. And I think that might have been that, or maybe some bad traffic issues, might have been why both the fans and the players kind of came out and started slow. They weren't very loud in the stands and they weren't very like aggressive on the ice. But that all started to change when they got back into their kind of into the swing of things. And I think we just kind of let it get away from us on the day. And I think that kind of negative momentum continued because you have a heavy defeat. You can see a fair few goals. It's going to play on your mind. And on the weekends, these games come thick and fast. And we had the Panthers the next day. And like I said before, we were both able to go to this game as well, which means we were present for both games. Me and you actually sat next to each other, which I wasn't expecting to happen, but that was pretty cool. The game itself ended up, though, being another loss. This one 4-1 away at the Nottingham Panthers. Talk me through that one.
It's tricky to kind of describe. It's like you say, the negative momentum coming in. I didn't quite see it that way. I saw the boys come out, and it was pretty even for me. The first period, we hit the post twice, and we had a couple of other good looks. And if those shots had gone in and got us a goal early doors, I think the game might have been very different. As it was the Panthers who got the first goal. And as we've seen over the past few weeks, when things start to go wrong, they tend to snowball. And with the major penalty at the end of the first from Ulet and then another couple of power play goals for the Panthers, you're barely into the second period and you're 4-0 down and the game's pretty much gone. The boys stuck with it though. When went into the third period, and the goalie got sent off. It was a very strange one I thought from Bednard, where I don't know what I think it was Hughes who he didn't even get in his face. He didn't go into him. It was almost like there was a chirp or something that possessed Bednard to come out and do a spear, which it looked fairly innocuous. But at the end of the day, that's a major penalty, and the referees went for a video review and they called it 5+ game, and I got a new goalie between the pipes, and the Storm tried piling it on in that 5-minute period, 5-minute power play, but they just couldn't get the puck in the net. If that had happened, then we could be talking about a very different game, but unfortunately they didn't, and Panthers saw it out fairly comfortably in the end.
Yeah, you're never going to be able to capitalize on every chance, but there were a few there that the Storm would have rather have gotten than not done. I think the bizarre standing off of the goalie was really definitely one of those opportunities. You had a goalie that, yeah, we don't know what was said to provoke him to do that, and spearing isn't something that happens very often. It is kind of an instinct game misconduct for doing, but when you take your stick and you kind of shove it in a spearing motion towards a player, you're not allowed to do that, even if you're the goalie. So he ended up having to be sat on the bench for the rest of the game. And there was kind of a momentum shift there. A new goalie coming in doesn't have much chance to warm up. He's been sat on a bench for 2 periods, and that was really the chance to go and get some goals. And I think when you're 4-0 down already, there's a high task with 1 period left. But we were able to get one. And if you listened on the Elite League website to Flags' post game, it was interesting because he liked the response that they had in that third period. The fight was definitely there, and I think that's a source of encouragement because it's been a tough weekend for the Storm. They've played some good teams, and they've had a tough run of games. They've had a tough run of fixtures where they've conceded a fair few goals. And I think to be able to find the positives like that, the way that Flags has done, is good. I think we're able to kind of take that moving forward, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. Before we do, though, I want to give a shout out to someone I should have done last time, and that is Connie. If you're ever going down to the Storm Shelter yourself and you get to watch the big screen and everything that goes on it, there is a woman that makes that all happen. If she wasn't there, you'd never be able to see anything. You'd never be able to see the forecast or your birthday shout outs. Connie helps make that happen. And when we're on away days, she drove me there. So thank you very much. And big shout out to you. And we had a very, very fun time at the Nottingham Panthers, even though the result didn't go in our favour. But it was very good fun being able to sit with them and being able to sit with you, Aidan. And I would definitely go back, that's for sure.
Well, I moved here for a reason. I do like it in Nottingham. And I introduced you to the wonderful Bunkers Hill after the game. For
Yes.
a pint, which was nice. Obviously, it's a favourite pub of many hockey fans in the country. So, which make your first trip to Bunkers?
Yeah, no, it was a fun experience. I'm trying to get to as many away days as I possibly can. I've ticked off Sheffield, ticked off Nottingham this season. I'll look to do some more in the new year, I think, because we're gonna have a very busy festive period coming up. But yeah, being able to be at both games was always a privilege this weekend, even if the results didn't come. But however, someone that wasn't able to really be at most of the games this weekend through injury is your number 9, Tyler Hinam. He had a very hot start to the season before getting his injury, and let's see how he's doing on his recovery. We've been able to get him to join us for the first time, ladies and gentlemen, Tyler Hinam. Before we get into this episode's player interview, I wanted to take a moment to thank all of you that have already given us some support or feedback on the episodes we've put out so far. At Storm TV, we want this podcast to be the best it can possibly be, bringing you fresh insight and behind-the-scenes access to the Manchester Storm every week. And we can only do that with your feedback. So if you're enjoying the show, why not give it a thumbs up, a review, or leave us a comment letting us know how you feel. Thank you so much to those that have already done that, and let's get back to the podcast. Okay, Tyler, welcome to the show. It's your first time. How are we doing?
We're doing good. Yeah, thank you very much for having me on.
I think I wouldn't be doing the fans a service if I didn't start by asking you how you're getting on. We know that you've been out recently with an injury. I just wanted to find out what you can tell us and how you're doing, how you're recovering.
Yeah, I'm all right. It's an upper body injury that was bothering me for a couple weeks. So we decided to get some tests done, and we got the test results back and decided it was just best to shut me down for a couple weeks to just fully heal up. I don't think it'll be too much longer, so I'm looking forward to getting back in the lineup soon.
Fans definitely can't wait for that, as you were definitely a fan favourite last season. You were the top goal scorer and joint top point scorer as well with 43, and we'll get onto that a little bit later. This season, you're averaging over a point a game, so we're looking well on pace to beat that. But I want to kind of dial it back and figure out what your reasons were for re-signing with the Storm. You must have spent a year with us and liked something enough to want to come back. What made you want to stick here?
I think everything. Obviously, I think I re-signed in January or February last year. I was just, to be quite honest and simple, I was just having fun. I was really enjoying playing the game and being here and living here with the guys. I think it's a great city. We have a lot of support from the fans. And yeah, I was just enjoying my time and I wanted to stay for a bit longer. So I talked to my agent and we talked to Finner and we got a deal done to stick around for a bit longer. So I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be back. And yeah, it's nice. I love it here.
That's good to hear. It's good to hear that you're enjoying yourself as well, as you can be quite far away from home. So being able to find enjoyment in what you do so far away is always nice for yourself, and it's good for people to hear as well. I want to ask you about your start to the year, though. I mentioned your stats. You got 5 goals and 9 assists in all competitions so far this year. So you are on pace to be over a point a game, and that is going to be very high scoring. So good luck with maintaining that, first of all. But what do you think the secret is to staying like at the level that you've established in your first season?
I think it's just something that's dated back a long time in my hockey career that I just, especially years that I'm staying at the same level. I just try to be a little bit better each year, just give a little more, be a little better, and I think I've done that successfully. So yeah, it's not really a surprise to me that I'm building off last year. I think that was the goal, and what I did last year to me is the floor of the standard. I think that's the absolute minimum that I should be giving in terms of output and play quality coming into this year. Because you go home after last season, like you have 3 or 4 months to get better and get stronger and get faster and work on things. You can reflect on the season and look at things that you can build on. So yeah, I'm happy to be building on my offensive output this year, but I think in general I just want to be a better player year over year. And with staying in the elite league from last year to this year, I think it was just the main goal was just build on last year in every way, in any way possible that I can build to my game and offer and give more.
It would be exciting to see how there can be an improvement on last season, because last season was so special for a debut in the league as well. I think with the season well underway now, I think getting better season on season, we're starting to see that. I want to go back to the very first season though, because you probably have been asked this before, but you've never been asked this by me on the Storm's official podcast. So I want to know what got you into that first season of hockey. What was the main inspiration to make you want to be a hockey player? And I'll make it a double barrel question. One, when did you realize that you were good enough to go pro in this sport as well?
For the first part of that question, I think I was too really young to have consciousness of decision making and why I got into it. But it's just something that I got into as a toddler, I guess. And then yeah, with just culturally in Canada, a lot of kids play ice hockey, and my parents put me in it, and I loved it, and they supported me through the whole way. And I guess that leading into the second part of your question, I probably would say probably not until my 19 or 20-year-old season in junior is when I would say. I think before that the goal was either just make the top level at the next league, or maybe I could make major junior, or maybe I can play university one day. But I don't think the goal was ever pro until I started playing in the same dressing rooms as guys that were going pro, and you could kind of see that in front of your eyes, the guys that you're playing against and practicing with. And yeah, that they're able to make that step. And I think that's when it starts to creep into your mind that you are good enough to make that jump if you want to put the work in. So I'd say yeah, I think I just naturally started playing hockey and found a love for it and continued playing obviously up until this point. And then yeah, I'd say towards the end of my junior career, I think I started to play with a little bit more confidence and be a better player at that level. And that's a level where you're able to take that springboard jump. So I'd say yeah, later in my junior career.
You went pro with the ECHL, if I'm not mistaken. You were playing over in the States before making the jump all the way over here. And it's a long way to come, and that can't be underestimated to play pro hockey. So one, it's good that you said earlier that you enjoy it. But you're not alone in that. A lot of the people that play in this league over here are people that have traveled a long way to get here. And we get new players in the league every single year. We had Jake Derflinger, who's really hit the ground running this season. We've also got a very new addition in Tyler Rockwell as well. And these are players that have traveled a long way to be in this team. And I wanted to know if, first of all, what it was like for you as a player making that leap across the pond, as people like to say. And then what it's like, whether, because you've been in those shoes, whether or not you're able to kind of help new players settle in that are making that transition themselves.
Yeah, so I guess to start off, for me personally coming in, there was definitely a sense of comfort. A little bit. I had played the season prior to his season over here. I had played with Jeremy Brodeur, so that's where I had gotten most of my information from, and he had nothing but great things to say. And there wasn't a lot of turnover from his year to my first year, which would have been last year in terms of Finner and Ginner being in charge, and Critch and Steve-O and Harry, and the leadership group was fairly similar. So the main core was there for his year, for my first year. So I had a good idea of what I was going into. I know Critch had reached out to me over the summer, and a couple guys had reached out. So for me coming in, I definitely had a bit of a sense of comfort, which was nice. I didn't really know any of the new guys personally this year before obviously playing with them, so I wasn't really sending out texts over the summer and stuff. But yeah, just trying to be there for them if they need anything, especially earlier on in the year. They're all grown men and they're all settled in now. They don't need my help with much now. But yeah, I think just over the first couple weeks, like where do you go get your phone, get your bill set up? Where are the good spots to eat or grab a coffee, or just what do you do to kill time around where we're living and kind of what the day-to-day routine looks like. So yeah, it's more just kind of supporting in that sense. But yeah, I had a great experience coming in, and I think with the lack of turnover that we've had year to year, I think guys, like we said, guys enjoy playing here and they enjoy being here. It's a family environment, and it's fun to be a part of.
We really are like retaining a core of quality players, and like you say, with no turnover, it's really good to see. And players are becoming like household names. You're seeing loads of, for your sake, Hinam jerseys all around the rink, and it's good to see. And with players that are like yourself, when you come over, it's almost good to hear how small of a world hockey is. I think for British hockey fans, having Canada and America be so far away, you don't often realize how small of a world hockey can be. So being able to have
Yeah.
connections like you had with Brodeur is really interesting, and kind of explaining to people how you're able to even realize that Manchester exists from a place like what, Nova Scotia. So it's really cool to make that kind of connection. But fast forwarding to where we are now, because last year we knew you for the patented toe drag release shot and all of those kind of things that we were seeing on the ice. This year, and correct me if I'm wrong, like let me know if this has been something that's been part of your game for a while, but you have said that you like to like build on things year on year. Tell me about this new like physical presence out there on the ice. You use the body a lot more and aren't afraid to drop the gloves to defend yourselves or teammates, and it's definitely garnered a good response from the fans. The fans seem to love it. Where's it come from?
I think that physicality and intensity and kind of playing on that line has always really been a part of my game. I guess like we touched on earlier, if we're just kind of trying to build on something and give a little more and be a little better year on year, that's good that I guess it seems from an outside view, it seems like I'm being more physical this year because I don't think there's a deliberate intention or thought that's going into that. I think it's just finishing last year. I liked the way I played and I like the way I play, and I didn't really want to change my game. I just wanted to improve it. So I guess in that sense, yeah, I think if I'm able to be a more physical presence on the ice and not let that take away from my offensive output, then I think that's just a positive for the team, and positive for my play in general.
With a coaching change in the summer, we've seen almost a more intense style of play, and almost like finishing your checks and stuff is something that's encouraged. So we have seen a lot of that kind of for the whole team, but it's something that I would note personally with you in this, what I perceive to be like an increased physicality out there on the ice. And those finished checks can sometimes garner a response from the other guy. And we spoke about this with Jake Derflinger in terms of like getting involved with scraps and scuffles after the whistle and stuff. And there's loads of examples you can think of, but one that will stand out to the fans for a long time, I think, is that Guildford game from not too long ago, where, and this is something that's never happened for me. I'm not sure about you. I'd love to ask this actually. Where has a period ever been blown short early because there's been so many penalties on one play?
I definitely not for penalties. From what I can remember, obviously maybe there's the glass breaks, the boards break, or the Zamboni breaks or something. It's just better to go to the room. That's definitely happened before, but not for not just to rewatch a kerfluffle 15 times and try to figure out who did what.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun to be in the commentary box for, because you guys had an absolute yard sale out there with equipment going everywhere. I think most of it was yours, because by the time you got up off the ice, you didn't have a shirt on anymore. You didn't have half of your chest pad, sorry. So it was absolutely bonkers, and it was really fun from where I was. But I think fans would really want to know what it's like in those moments when it gets really tense and someone like wants to fight you. That's not an everyday experience if you're not a hockey player. So kind of walk me through what that's like in those moments where all of a sudden your gloves are off, your shirt's off, and now you're throwing bombs at someone. What's that like?
Yeah, for sure. I think not many people go to work and go to their job that day and end up in that situation. So yeah, it's definitely unique, and Yeah, it is what it is. I guess tensions just boiled over, and I guess in those moments, there's just so much adrenaline. You're not feeling much. You're not thinking much. You're just kind of reacting off pure instinct. So yeah, I guess from a player's point of view, it was just very chaotic and happened very fast. And yeah, I think it was just kind of emotions boiling over.
It definitely did. I think it was a lot of fun. However, I don't like I wouldn't want the referee's position anyway, and that sort of thing, trying to break you guys up and then having to go over all the I think there was 14 or so penalties at once, and that seems like a really long job. So them pausing the game, as much as I've never seen it before, I absolutely don't blame them for having to go through and do that. And it looked like a lot of fun. You guys get to kind of chirp each other while you sat on the bench as well.
Yeah, no, it was fun for us, I guess. Looking back, nobody got hurt, and there's a lot of adrenaline. It was fun. And I think it's a night that I think a lot of Storm fans won't forget anytime soon. So I think as entertainers, in a sense, I guess that's a cool thing to be a part of.
For sure. Hockey players or gladiators, take your pick. But I think instead of fighting, that they're like there's so much more to a hockey game as well. And I think you've been a part of some pretty high scoring events so far this season because you've had a lot of success. We called it, I don't know if you're aware of this yourself, but we called it the Triple H line because of yourself, Hughes and Heber.
Yeah, I
Um,
did see some stuff on that. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was mainly the Storm fans that came up with it, I think. But yeah, it was good fun when you guys were playing together, and I think a lot of you ended up recording like 5 point games, just one after the other, especially Heaves as well. Like, walk me through what your different line pairings have been like. I mean, you had a lot of success with Heber and Hughes when you were playing.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a bit of a weird start because I think there was probably a bit of a plan in place to play with Critch again. Obviously, going back to last year, I think we played most of the second half together. And then coming into this year, I think that was the plan when he got back from GB after camp, and we played that first game of the first game of the season against Guildford at home in the Challenge Cup. We played that game together, and then I got hurt towards the end of that game, and then he hurt his knee by the time I was back in the lineup. So we haven't got to play with each other. So it was kind of a surprise to me. I didn't really know Grant as a player, didn't really know him as a person either. Knew kind of Hughesy's game from playing against him and seeing him in the league last year. But yeah, so that was kind of something that kind of just clicked from the start. I briefly listened to Ryan's interview, and yeah, he mentioned that we were talking, just saying like we're getting chances, we're getting opportunities. We thought we were playing some pretty good hockey. There's the points weren't there, the goals weren't there. It just wasn't coming together. And yeah, we were talking that week, kind of like it's gonna explode at some point here. Like just keep doing it, and it's gonna explode. And I think that was the night that he had 6 points and Heaves had the hat trick. And yeah, I think it's been a good fit playing with those two, but they've also had good seasons personally themselves. So I think they've played well with whoever they've played with too. So yeah, it's worked well when I've played with them, but I think that's mostly just because they're two pretty good players.
It'll be interesting to see now that Critch is back, because that's something that's very recent as of the last weekend as we're recording this. But with Critch being back and then Heber and Hughes still being out there as part of the lineup, it'll be interesting to see what line you go back into. Because having been someone that joined the team last year and, like you say, the second half of last season, you and Critch were really striking up a good partnership there. And I think if you guys were to run it back, it'll be interesting to see who gets paired with you. Think Husey got in that first game.
I think it was
And
Husey that first game and kind of through the end of camp there. I think it was Husey on the left.
so it'll be interesting to see when all the stars align and everybody's finally fit together. It's been something we've said on the podcast a lot. It'll be interesting
Yeah,
to
knock
see
on
who's
wood.
with who and kind of like you say, when it all starts to explode and things start to click. It'll be good fun. But yeah, that's the last I'll ask you about the on ice stuff because we have got some off ice stuff to talk about. At the time of recording, you'll be going bowling at the Bowl with the Storm event tomorrow. That will have happened by the time this comes out. So good luck. Hope you win.
Thank you.
And then not too long after that, you'll have the Electric Shuffle event. And I've asked the players that we've had on since that got announced, and I'll be asking you the same thing. You guys have already been and you've already played. So if I'm a fan looking to book my table and choose what player I want on my team, if it was your decision, who would you want on your shuffle team?
I don't know. The first time we met, we went as a team. I remember Hughesy being pretty good, so that makes sense. Good hands, I guess. So yeah, maybe Ryan Hughes could steal the show.
Ryan Hughes, yeah, maybe. We've had a lot of different takes on who could be the person in there, but I'm sure there's loads of players, and maybe not all of them are up for grabs anymore. You might have lost your chance, but there will still be a couple of places left. So be sure to have a look at that. That'll be on the Storm Support app or website. Be sure to check it out. For now, though, I have one final question for you because 43 points was your total last year. I want to know, what are your goals this year? Is it just 44, maybe more than that? Or what are your goals in Manchester this year?
I guess nothing really specific, honestly. Obviously as a team, we want to move forward and try to make some noise. We just missed out on the Challenge Cup qualification, so I think that's done. But we want to claw back in the standings and get some wins going here, and maybe make some noise in the playoffs and get to the final weekend and see what happens from there. I think that's the outlook right now from the players' point of view of what we want from the season. And for me personally, first and foremost, I like to get healthy. Obviously, tough to put up points from the stands, so. I think that's the first step is just getting back in the lineup, and then yeah, obviously, I think like I touched on, you want to build on what you did last year over year. So yeah, 44 points would be great. You know what I mean? Anything more would be great. I don't know if I'll be able to do that with the games and stuff. You can't account for so many different things, like injuries and missed time, and puck luck plays a big role in it too. So, I think it's just taking it day by day and trying to get back in the lineup, and then I just trying to stay in shape and make sure when I get back in the lineup, I'm able to be an impact player. And I think if I just do that, focus weekend by weekend, I'll hopefully build on last year and just be a better player in general, year over year.
It's something that I almost sound like a broken record saying when I'm on the broadcasts and stuff every weekend, is that when you're on the ice, good things seem to happen. So I think I speak for the rest of the Storm fans when I say that we can't wait to have you back on the ice. Tyler, thank you for joining me this week.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And Tyler will be back as soon as he can be, but the rest of the guys will still be out there trying to claw the way up the standings. The first game you get to see them try to do that next is against Cardiff, the Cardiff Devils on Saturday. Be sure to go there. We will be talking about that very shortly. If you enjoyed this episode's player interview, then let us know by leaving a like or a review. You can also tell us who you want on the next episode of the Storm Report podcast by leaving a comment using the hashtag StormTV. If you do, you never know. If we've not already had your favourite player on, we might be able to do that next week. Let us know who you want on this podcast by leaving us a comment using the hashtag StormTV. That's hashtag StormTV. Thank you very much for joining us, Tyler. We'll definitely try and have you back when you are back in the lineup and once you've scored a couple of goals, because we know that that's going to come thick and fast. When you're back in the lineup, it'll be exciting to see who you join as well out there. First game back for everyone else, though, is this weekend, Saturday, the 30th of November, the last Movember game. It's been cool to see the officials in those different attires. And we play the Cardiff Devils at home. Aiden, we have currently played them 3 times in the league. We've played them in the cup. We've played them in the league. We've taken a win in overtime. They've taken 2 in regulation. The Devils are currently 11 wins for 14 games played in the league. They're going to be a tough team to come up against.
Yeah, top of the Elite League standings at the moment. Doing well, as you would expect from Cardiff. They are a good team, as they often are. It's funny, those 3 games that we played so far against them this season, the 2 losses were very, very different games. They had the one where Cardiff came to the Storm shelter for the first time and played us off the ice. Second time, we went down there. Obviously, we beat them in one game, but then the second game where we went down there, we gave them a really good game. It was very tight. They just edged it in the end. I mean, the special teams that kind of made the difference. We just need to keep going. If we're sticking to our style, like as we've spoke about flags as say stick to the plan, follow the process. The guys have bought into it. They're going to keep doing it. We've already seen it have success against Cardiff. We just have to see it go again. One thing we didn't mention earlier was the debut weekend of Tyler Rockwell, who impressed me very much so with his play coming into the defence. Defence that looked like it really needed some assistance. So really good to see him make a good start, and hopefully that continues. I'm sure defensively the team will want to put in a much stronger effort. They will need to against Cardiff on Saturday. I'm really looking forward to another good game.
That is a very, very good point about the Tyler Rockwell thing. Our number four's debut game in the Storm Shelter, as much as the result didn't go in our favour, I do think that he was deserving of the Player of the Game award in the end. It went to Ulet because he scored a good goal for us to get things started. And he had a pretty good penalty killing shift, if I remember correctly, as well. But yeah, I was impressed with Rockwell's first weekend. I think he does bring some stability that we've been looking for in defence. We need to help out Wenny a lot more in net, and I think that he's been a good way to help us do that. He does the little things right, is what I've noticed. Your board battles, getting to second pucks really quickly and being able to cut things out, getting in the passing lanes as well. He's been very good at that, and long may that continue. Welcome to the Storm. You had a good first weekend. Let's try get some wins on the board now. First chance to do that is this Cardiff team. And with them looking so strong, you try to look for ways you can get past them. What are the holes in this team? And for me, something that could potentially prove difficult for them is Cardiff have a tough week. They've got a 3-game week this week. They play, at the time of recording, it's tonight. By the time this goes out, it will have already happened. They play the Steelers at home, hosting to the Steelers midweek. They're going to be fielding their new goalie for the first time, the Steelers. Then they play us at the Storm Shelter, and then they host Guildford at home. That's going to be a very tough week. And I wonder, Aidan, if you think that could give us any sort of potential advantage there, because we'll be playing far less games, and we'll be well rested the whole week as well.
I'd like to hope so. I mean, sometimes that can go against you. Sometimes you can come into a weekend after a week off, a bit cold, whereas the other team who played a game a couple of days ago can come in a bit more jump. But it can go either way. I've seen it go either way plenty of times. Cardiff, they're generally strong from top to bottom in their lineup, but they have had issues with injuries to the netminders. Taz Berman coming in, as we know him from his Guildford days.
The goalie watch of who we're going to play against, I think, could really have a say in the game. I want to ask you about special teams as well. You mentioned earlier when these teams have played each other in the past, special teams was a big part of it. We've been struggling to get our special teams going recently. Do you reckon that'll be something that maybe hinders us in this week?
And if it clicks or not, it can just as easily click and suddenly go for us as not. I don't think we've had necessarily that big an issue killing penalties. I mean, you play the likes of Sheffield, Cardiff. They've got so much quality in their teams that when the power play clicks, there's often not too much you can do. Our issue on defence is mainly transitional for me. It's when we lose the puck in bad areas, when the forwards are caught up the ice. So we don't have that issue so much when we're killing penalties. So I'm not too worried about that. The power play, we've got plenty of offensive weapons. It just didn't quite go for us, especially this weekend just gone. But it really doesn't take much to change that. When you see it set up, the structure of it, I know what the plan is. You play generally with one defenseman. We've got some really good quarterbacks for the power play, like Morrow especially. Some forwards who know what they're doing. It's one of those things that I don't see us structurally having anything to change. I think it's just a case of, and I think the ice altering him probably doesn't help us when you're trying to set up on the power play. That's one thing I certainly noticed on Saturday. Fingers crossed for colder weather. That might well help us.
Maybe. It is Manchester on the last day of November, so anything is possible. It could well indeed be colder. Tyler spoke a little bit about it's going to give at some point and the goals are going to start flowing. I think he described it as an explosion. And I think on the power play, that's definitely true. The chances have been begging a couple of times in the last 2 games. They've got to come for us at some point. And I think that we'll be needing to make right on some of those goals that we should have scored before in the game against Cardiff. And from all accounts from Tyler Hinam, the boys are ready to do that. They're ready to right some wrongs this weekend. And I would be very, very encouraged to see what that looks like. So that will be Saturday, the 30th of November in the Storm Shelter. If you haven't already, get your tickets now. It's a game you're not going to want to miss out on. And that is a game that's in the league. We played 2 games this week, and our second game is in the Cup. We're away at the Coventry Blaze. a team that has been has defied all expectations so far. They've been a surprise, and it's been a good one for Coventry Blaze. I think they're third, maybe second in the league at the minute, and they're third in the cup standings. They have a chance to go through there. Our cup campaign is almost over, Aiden, but the Coventry Blazers isn't. Do you reckon we'll be able to play spoiler?
I'd love to say yes, but I think looking at the league table, it doesn't look like it's possible for us to go through even if we win. If we win, I believe Coventry and Cardiff have to play each other, and the winner of that will jump above us. So, with it being mathematically impossible for us to go any further, with us having injuries and bodies coming back into the lineup, I'm wondering if Flags is going to take the opportunity to experiment, certainly not to give up on the game, but to take the opportunity of the pressure of it being off, especially when it's on the road. It's not something you'd expect to see at home. But on the road, give Oldale a game perhaps, get some of the Brits into the lineup, bring Crawley in, carry Einan in, give them some really good ice time, Connolly some more ice time, play around with the lines, see if there's any combinations that might need refreshing, see how some other guys might gel with each other for the sake of a one-off game. Obviously, that's just what I might do if I were coach, but I'm not the coach, so I'm happy to back whatever Flags decide to do. He might decide instead, depending on how Saturday goes. We might have a really good performance on Saturday and he wants to carry on momentum. We might have a poor game on Saturday, in which case he really wants to get some momentum going. So it could really go either way, but that's just my opinion.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that. I would love to have a game where we're able to kind of field the likes of Josh Crawley and Kerry Einan, because I think they were really good in the preseason. It was almost one of the highlights for me when we played those random teams from all over the world, where we were able to kind of see what we had in our youth ranks. Obviously, they're playing on two-way contracts this year with the likes of Blackburn and stuff like that. And if we were able to call them up for a game and see what they're made of, that would be a game that I would tune in for absolutely, because they've been impressive when we've been able to see them so far. And it will be interesting to see what way things go. And the way that you angled that puts a lot of pressure on the Cardiff game, which makes me think that that's a game, like I said before, that is unmissable. It will determine the flow of the weekend, just like the way the Sheffield Steelers game did. There's potential for us to do really, really well this weekend and bounce back. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, so like I say, a lot is riding on Saturday to see how Sunday goes. But I think as far as the fans are concerned, the win is an absolute must on Saturday, or at the very least, a really good performance.
I think it goes without saying that if the cup competition is something that we're not going to go any further in, all attention needs to turn to the league. Tyler spoke about wanting to climb up the table. That's something that all the fans are going to be able to get behind. And the first chance to do that is to get behind your team when they play the Cardiff Devils this Saturday, the 30th of November, in the Storm Shelter. If you haven't got your tickets, what are you waiting for? Go down and get them. Support the guys. It'll be your next chance to do so. For now, though, that is it from us. I've been Matty. He's been Aiden. Thank you very much for listening to this episode of The Storm Report. We hope you have a fantastic day or night, depending on when you're listening to this. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
That was the Storm Report, brought to you by Storm TV. Tune in next week for more exclusive insights. Tickets on sale now at manchesterstorm.com.